Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. The battle today is extremely intense and brings interesting approaches from both sides as 13 Crusader 13's Dark Elves face off against ewt.konosmgr's Empire. I am definitely butchering that name, my apologies. Now I've got some more Total Breakdown episodes lined up and almost ready to go, but please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment down below if you'd like to see more episodes, just so I know that you're interested in more Total Breakdown. Now, with no time to waste, let's begin. And we begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and boy, is this one a bit of a doozy. Let's start with the Dark Elves. We've got Marathi in charge up in the air, and the front line, if we can call it that, consists of these 4 units of Dark Shards with shields. Right behind them, a pair of Sisters of Slaughter on either flank with the bleak swords in the middle, and then tucked away in the trees you can see a Sorceress of Beasts on foot, alongside 3 units of Cold One Knights who are armor-piercing and anti-large, however, prone to rampaging. And then up front here, Slanesh's Harvester, the Doomfire Warlock Regiment of Renown, poison damage, physical resistance of 40%, quite a pain to deal with. On the other side of the field, the Empire has an interesting deployment as well. Balthazar Gelt is in charge up in the air, and he has brought with him a Jade Wizard as well as a Warrior Priest, both of them tucked in the trees on horseback. We also have a pair of Flagellants up front, alongside the Knights of the Blazing Sun over here, and then there are the Royal Altdorf Griffites, the Demigryph Knight Regiment of Renown back here, armor-piercing and anti-large. Over here you can see we have the Pistoliers here, and then further off to the left side over here you can see we've got some Pistoliers over here, some Outriders back here, and some more Pistoliers over here, alongside these Knights of the Blazing Sun that are providing some protection to that left cavalry flank, if you will. Now, this is a very interesting situation as we have a lot of range on both sides of the field. However, on one side it is very mobile, and on the other side it is very much infantry, but the silver shields of the Dark Elves might prove quite fruitful over here, as up front the aggression already begins. You can see Balthazar Gelt getting very adventurous, forcing the Dark Elves to fall back, and the Dark Elves quite wisely pulling back into safety as they let loose some bolts into the Pistoliers over here. Just trying to get a little bit of early damage in, I think, and then pulling back again into safety, needing to find a solution to the fact that they're going to be fully surrounded by this highly mobile Empire force. You can see back over here we have these Pistoliers moving forward alongside the Outriders and the other Pistoliers. We also have the Knights of the Blazing Sun splitting off to that side, so it is virtually a full surround as over here these Pistoliers are again moving forward to explore and maybe get some shots in. Important to remember, however, as these shots fly back over here and the Pistoliers respond in kind to the bleak swords, that most of these Dark Elf units have silver shields, and that means a lot of block chance if they're shot in the front. You can see back here, though, these Pistoliers are having a terrible time as a lot of shots come through, dropping their health and morale by about 10% there, I think, as a bit of a safety circle is being formed by the Dark Elves. And you can see over here, the Knights of the Blazing Sun have to be very careful with charging into the center, because if they push in too aggressively, the Cold One Knights will respond, of course, in kind and finish them off, as they are anti-large and armor-piercing up front here. Meanwhile, you can see Pistoliers getting some shots in, but the Dark Shards here as well, responding in kind, getting some shots in of their own, while up front, Marathi here is getting some scouting done, I think, so that these Dark Shards are actually able to fire away at these Pistoliers that are tucked away in the trees. So you can see a couple volleys coming through, hoping to get some damage, and of course the trees are going to block some of those arrows, but a fair bit of morale and health damage being done, while Marathi again just scouting the area, making sure that those Dark Shards are able to use their ammunition rather than just sit still and do nothing. Back here, meanwhile, you can see the Pistoliers dancing back and forth, trying to get some shots in, but unfortunately hitting the silver shields as the Dark Shards respond in kind. And over here as well, these Pistoliers firing away, but the Dark Shards responding, and the Knights of the Blazing Sun again baiting, I think, some charges, but just so much patience being exhibited over here. The Knights of the Blazing Sun again pulling back, but unfortunately being pinged by some of these Dark Shards with shields, taking a touch of damage over there, as back over here you can see these Pistoliers are almost ready to give up on the fight already. Very low on health, very low on morale, and up front over here as well you can see 50% health on these Pistoliers as well. So the Dark Shards have done a wonderful job so far. They haven't been engaged, they're able to pull back into safety, and they're able to fire away, and you can see once more now pulling a little bit further back, I think, not wanting any surprises to come popping out of those trees. Very well done, very wisely done, and in come some shots from these Pistoliers, and they're actually going to find a hole over here. They're going to creep by and get some shots into the backs of these Sisters of Slaughter, and then fire into the sides of these bleak swords, ignoring their shields temporarily, but in come some shots from these Dark Shards, and very quickly now those Pistoliers are going to give up on the fight. There comes the rout, as over here you can see these Pistoliers are eating some shots as well, so just being screened off, blocking all angles of approaches. Over here you can see these Pistoliers are moving in, getting some shots in, but again, an instant rotation, presenting those shields to the threat, making sure that the Pistoliers are not able to do too much damage. Beautifully done there, and now you can see more shots coming in, keeping these Pistoliers at bay, as over here as well, these Knights of the Blazing Sun, they should not be staying still like that because they're going to eat the armor-piercing damage from these Dark Shards with shields, so those Knights of the Blazing Sun not having a good time, but take a look at this. In comes some serious aggression now as Balthazar Gelt leads a charge with the Royal Altdorf Griffites in tow. They're going to charge in, they're going to bring some magic in as well. As you can see, in comes that glorious charge, but a counter charge from the Cold One Knights as well. Beautifully done over here as the two anti-large armor-piercing units fly into each other. The Royal Altdorf Griffites here actually get hit by the Word of Pain. Great use of that to drop their melee attack to 0, making sure that their damage output is greatly reduced just as they get into those charges against the Cold One Knights. So the Cold One Knights here have a lot of work to do, but of course there is that magical assistance coming through. Meanwhile, at the same time, Balthazar Gelt was able to drop the Transmutation of Lead on top of these Cold One Knights, so reducing their melee attack capability, but they're going to pull away from that front line and engage back here against these Knights of the Blazing Sun, where the Slaanesh Harvesters are getting involved as well. But in comes the Warrior Priest, and he's going to bring some magic with him, the Shield of Faith, the Hammer of Sigmar as well. We've got Earth Blood coming down over here trying to keep all these units alive, but in comes the Bombardment spell as well from that Warrior Priest. Take a look at the damage being done there. The Sisters of Slaughter not having a good time. Transmutation of Lead affecting them as well as the Cold One Knights pull back to engage these Knights of the Blazing Sun, who are being assisted by the Hammer of Sigmar and the Shield of Faith. We've got these Pistoliers looking for an opportunity to get involved as well, as over here we get Balthazar Gelt diving into the Dark Shards with shields, trying to stop them from firing away. But you can see over here we have these Flagellants pushing in, and the Dark Shards are getting engaged, but they're turning around, pulling back into safety as quickly as possible as these Pistoliers over here completely give up on the fight, routing. As over here you can see we actually get a Pharaoh Manticore being brought into the field by the Sorceress of Beasts. Beautifully done. At the same time, you can see all of these Dark Shards pulling back into safety. Another bombardment down over here, but take a look at this slight lack in micromanagement as these Cold One Knights over here just sitting still, looking pretty. They need to get involved somewhere or the other. We've got these Pistoliers over here firing away at them. We've got these Outriders over here as well, also not really doing much, but the Cold One Knights are taking some damage, unfortunately, as back over here you can see another Earthblood gets planted down, trying to keep some of these Empire units alive, as back over here these Bleak Swords are having a terrible time. They're getting charged around by the Knights of the Blazing Sun, charged right through rather, as Slaanesh's Harvesters here now pull back to try and protect these Bleak Swords, charging into the Knights of the Blazing Sun as Murderous Prowess and Murderous Mastery get activated. These Dark Shards you can see at the same time still pulling back into safety. Very nicely managed there. None of them have been killed off completely. This one is very close to dying though. It is broken right now, but you can see these Knights of the Blazing Sun eating a lot of shots from all of these Dark Shards. They're about to give up on the fight as in comes another Transmutation of Lead affecting that Pharaoh Manticore, and also affecting the clump over here, making sure that the Dark Elves are having a hard time in this front line, or the central engagement I can call it. Slaanesh's Officers over here meanwhile chasing after the Knights of the Blazing Sun, hoping to finish them off once and for all, while over here we have these rampaging Cold One Knights chasing after some Pistoliers over here, trying to run them off the field as another Pharaoh Manticore gets brought onto the field. Another one gets summoned in. That Sorceress of Beasts is very low on health right now. She needs to pull back into safety. You can see the Slaanesh's Harvesters came in to try and free her up, but now need to turn around and respond to this incoming charge from the Knights of the Blazing Sun. And take a look at that glorious charge, just slicing into each other. Those lances absolutely destroying some of these Slaanesh's Harvesters, but this is going to be an interesting engagement as both of those units are at about 50% health. But take a look at this. Balthazar Gelt has bitten off more than he can chew, and the Pharaoh Manticores are biting off exactly what they can chew, as Balthazar Gelt here has to pull back. He is terrified off, takes to the air, and actually shatters, and that is going to force everybody across the board for the Empire to give up on the fight as their leader gives in. The Dark Shards continue to fire away into the Flagellants over here, who are also hit by Soul Stealer, just trying to get that damage output there, as the Empire has more or less given up on the fight across the board. So despite starting fully surrounded, the Dark Elves managed to hold the lines, brought in the Pharaoh Manticores, and just absolutely ravaged the Empire's forces. These Flagellants are all that are left. They're obviously going to fight to the end, and the end is nigh. The Dark Elves have won a glorious, but most certainly Pyrrhic victory. Now, for all intents and purposes, the Dark Elves started fully surrounded, but after showcasing a great deal of patience with precise control over troops and with the help of a couple of Pharaoh Manticores, perhaps they did manage to rout the entire enemy force. The Empire was trying something a little unusual here as well, and on paper I thought they'd have it in the bag considering the two opposing compositions, but those Cold One Knights were positioned excellently, forcing the cavalry to stay at bay at basically every point in time. Not a single Dark Elf unit fell, I believe, and the Empire's forces, on the other hand, all fled. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn some new things from the community, and it's always nice to see such amazing battles as well. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons and channel members for supporting the channel on a monthly basis, keeping us alive and running smoothly, and I'd also like to thank you for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.